Yo, what is up, man? It's April 14th, 2022, and the Mets are the best team in Major League Baseball, man. Let's get this party started, bruh. Yes, sir. You already know my name is Rompe, and welcome to Mets Life, because you know when it's about the Mets, it's for life, baby. And the Mets right now, there's so much to talk about the first two series of the year. There's a lot. There's a lot to get to for the first two series of the year. So just letting y'all know that there's a lot to get to. First things first, the Mets are the hottest team in Major League Baseball right now. You don't believe me? Ask your mama, because that's the truth. The Mets are the hottest team in baseball right now. Right here, right now, the Mets are the hottest team in baseball. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. 5 wins on the season, the most as of today, as of right now. I'm pretty sure somebody might equal that, but right now Mets are 5-0 on the year, and right now no team in baseball has 5 wins. The Mets are 5-2. Mets starters are 5-0. What more can you ask for? DeGrom goes down with a shoulder injury, and the Mets starters just said, "We got you, bruh. Take your time. Take your time. Get right. Come back. Because guess what? We got you. We got you." How do they got him? I'm going to show you how they got him. So, for the first week of games, the Mets, the New York Metropolitan starting pitchers, are first in WHIP, first in FWAR, first in ERA, first in opponent batting average, first in K to walk percentage. That's significant. Seeing as Jacob deGrom is hurt, and the entire world feels that this team will live and die on how much Jacob deGrom gets to pitch in 2022. Which is fair. I'm not gonna, sit here and, listen. They had a good week. It was a good week. And when it comes to the week to week for the New York Mets, my message will always be finish. Finish, finish, finish. A 5-2 on the road to start the year, beautiful. Like I said, we've seen in the past when the Mets have gotten off to a hot start. A couple years, I think it's 20. I know one time with Terry Collins, the Mets won, I think it was 11 or 12 in a row. And then they did it again when Mickey Callaway was first the manager for the Mets. They won around 10, 11, 12 in a row. So we've seen them have a hot first month of the season. But this isn't that. This is a different kind of, when you think about the Mets in years past, you think about a team with so much potential, but they can never, ever put it together. Guys are hot at different times of the year. One guy be on, the rest of the lineup would be off. 2 guys would be on, the rest of the lineup would be off. I feel like the first 2 series, everybody showed what they bring to the table, except Dominic Smith and Robinson Cano and J.D. Davis. But even J.D. Davis had a couple RBIs in the first series. But when you look at a team and when you try to put a good team together, you try to field the best team possible. One, my trust is in Buck Showalter. Always. And we'll get into the bullpen stuff a little bit later on. But we're going to give the first round of applause to Buck Showalter. Let's give Buck Showalter a round of applause for his first week as Mets manager, and give him credit. Give him credit. He came in, he ended off spring training, and, his words were, we got a game plan. We know what we want to do. I'm 100% sure for 3 months, him, Billy Epler, and the whole analytics front office team got together to come up with a game plan, to be on the same page. And I'm going to be honest with you, because we see this a lot throughout Major League Baseball. The analytics department, the general manager, the president of baseball operations, and the manager never on the same page. High-profile manager, high-profile analytics department, but the general manager is just full of crap. Not a lot of teams have it all together, right? There's a few teams that have it all together. The Dodgers, the Rays are good examples. The Yankees try to be that, but for me, they'll always be the Yankees. Hate them, love them or hate them, they find a way to win 90 games a season. Right? Only time they didn't was, between 2013 and to 2014 or 15. I'm not really sure. But between those years, like the final years of Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera and all that stuff, their last 2 seasons, the Yankees did nothing, right? In 2016, right? Yeah, even in 2016, the Yankees didn't go nowhere. 2015, I'm not really sure. I don't remember. I know the Mets were hot. The Mets went to the World Series. That's what I remember. But, from 2017 on, I mean, they've won 90-plus games every season. So you give them that, right? But except, pandemic season, but it kind of equals the same thing. You get what I mean, right? Playoff team every single year since 2017, but they could never put it together to finish, right? So, and that just proves front office, general manager are not on the same page. This offseason was a perfect example. Phil Nevin took the L for how the Yankee season ended in the wild card game, because he sent Aaron Judge, and it wasn't his fault. And Aaron Boone fought for that. And I feel like there had to be some butt kissing. There was some butt kissing and some apologies to Aaron Boone, because they let him go. He was the scapegoat. Somebody had to take the fall. And I 100% believe the Yankees were going to let Aaron Boone go, but they didn't, because there were other teams that, heard rumors the Padres were probably going to pick him up, or the Cardinals were probably going to pick him up. Just another team was going to pick him up. And the Yankees were afraid of that, so they re-signed him. And the rest is whatever. But that's the point I'm trying to make, right? But for the Mets, analytics department, the coaching staff, the manager, the general manager, and the president of the team had 3 months to get together, come up with a game plan on how we going to get this team to the playoffs. And then when free agency started, you started to see that plan come together. Mark Canha was the first domino to drop. Then it was Eduardo Escobar, the next domino to drop. Sterling Marte jumped in on the fun. Then a week later, the Mets signed Max Scherzer to the highest, richest pitching contract in the history of Major League Baseball, which I fully believe Jacob deGrom will surpass that if he has a huge, huge year. Cy Young caliber type season, which I don't know how that would happen considering he's injured, but crazier things have happened, right? But to start the season off, Buck Showalter deserves credit because I've seen this fan base start to press the panic button the minute they lose the first game. It's like, oh, here we go again. Same old Mets. Mets are gonna Met. LOL Mets. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Listen, that's garbage. This isn't the Wilpon Mets. This isn't the same old garbage firing Willie Randolph at 3 a.m. On the West Coast. Like, listen, this is different, right? This is completely different, and you see that on the field. This is a team that every single game, except Max Scherzer's game, which is the second game of the season, right? Because he gave up the solo home run to Josh Bell. Other than that home run that Max Scherzer gave to Josh Bell, the Mets have led every single game. They should be 7-0 to start the season, which is fantastic. I'll take it. You give me an opportunity to win, I'll take it. Bullpens, listen, the bullpen is such an overrated thing. I'm going to tell you why. The 2019 Nationals had the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball. They won a World Series. They didn't just win a World Series. They beat the Houston Astros. They beat an Astros team who had Garrett Cole almost winning the Cy Young, Justin Verlander pitching at a top level, and a few others who were also good. But the Astros team was a good team. They still had George Springer. They still had plenty of guys on that team. Right? The 2019 Washington Nationals had the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball, and they won a World Series. How did they win the World Series? Well, they had good starting pitching. And what the Mets have right now is the kind of depth you need for the postseason. Can you imagine heading into the postseason with a healthy deGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett as your 1, 2, 3? I mean, that's fantastic. It's going great. Omi. It's going great. Hopefully I said your name right. Everything is going fantastic. The season is going amazing. We're gonna get into some player highlights in a minute, but I can't stress enough. Imagine if the Mets go into the postseason with a healthy deGrom, a healthy Scherzer, a healthy Bassett, and the rest of the rotation ready to rock. Can you imagine what that will look like? That is a recipe for success. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, that is a recipe for winning a championship. The offense has to put it together. Ain't no telling what they're going to do come trade deadline. Right now, I just want to get through the first month and a half of the season. Why? We play so many division teams. So many division teams. We got the Phillies again at home. The Braves at home. Then we got the Phillies again on the road. The Nationals again I mean, to start the season, we're playing teams and then two against the Diamondbacks. And that's coming up this week, right? We got the Diamondbacks this weekend, right? I can't wait either. I can't listen. It is my pleasure to bring my thoughts to the Mets Twitter community, the Mets online community, because I feel like everybody's opinion is different, and I feel like my opinion is it's a good one. But like I said, I just feel like this team is a recipe for success and a recipe to win. Right? So we're gonna get into a couple of players that I believe, right, are the reason why the Mets are so successful, right? But before we do that, we got the Diamondbacks this weekend. Then we got the Giants, huge test. But in that series, we got Scherzer, Miguel, Bassett. I love having them, because Bassett will finish that series. I love having them ready at home against the San Francisco Giants, because that is a team that is going to be a postseason contending team. They're good. Don't sleep on them. They're good. They'll figure out how to win. They did it last year. They'll do it again. They have a good manager. And it's crazy because Gabe Kapler did not succeed in Philly. And a lot of that was what I was talking about when I started the stream. The GM, the manager, and the front office were all disconnected. How does this man go from Philly, who, listen, they had Bryce Harper, they had, whatever the case is. I hate Philly. I feel like Philly is a garbage team, fourth place team. We could debate that till the cows come home. And I'll debate that with Philly fans all day long. Yes, talking to Shelfie. Yes, I'm talking to Dubby Dot. Those are my guys, and we talk about this all the time. But like I said, though, right? Like I said, how does Gabe Kapler go to Philly, right? Promising manager, up-and-coming guy who has a good knowledge, good analytics guy, goes to Philly, tries to do his best to put a winning team on the field, fails. Goes to San Francisco year one, almost going to the NLCS. If it wasn't for my guy, double I, Max Scherzer, Mad Max. If it wasn't for him shutting it down, you get what I mean? The Giants would have beat the Dodgers, and who knows what the heck happens. But that's Gabe Kapler. That is that guy. That's the same guy that managed the Phillies. Look what he's doing with the Giants. So that's the disconnect I'm talking about. But we don't see that here. Buck is on par with Billy, who's on par with Sandy, and that's what we need. Everybody on the same page. So like that, the players don't got to worry about what the heck the front office is doing. Play the game, win the game. Let's get to the postseason, right? So 2 series against Arizona. In between that, we got San Francisco and St. Louis. San Francisco, St. Louis, important series because those are 2 teams that I believe will be in the postseason. So San Francisco, St. Louis, we're going to face them before we come back and play some NL East baseball, right? I want to get through that. If we get through that, because we had the same test last year, right? We were about 7, I don't know how many games it was. I think it was like 5, 6, 7 games in first place by the end of June. And we had an opportunity at the end of June to really put our foot on the throat of the NL East, and we dropped the ball bad. Right? Still was in first place, but dropped the ball bad. That was the opportunity right there to create some distance between you and the division. So like that, you could have survived the mess that was July. But we didn't. Then Lindor got hurt, and then the rest is history. But this year is so important to get off to this hot start. Put our foot on the throat of the NL East, then go in, beat the other divisional teams, because June is starting off heavy. We're talking Dodgers, Padres, Angels. That West Coast trip is going to be brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. So I am, one, not excited for that West Coast trip. I hate the West Coast trips, but we need to be on point. If we can get through that buzzsaw, we'll be fine. But that's in June, right? We got to get through May 1st to get to June. Anyways, we're going to get our next round of applause to Tylor Megill, because Tylor Megill, ladies and gentlemen, pitched an absolute gem. Second game in a row, this guy strikes out 5 and does his job.
This guy?
He strikes out 5, does his job, shuts down the Phillies, shuts down the Nationals. We were supposed to do that anyways, but a lot of times when you're supposed to beat teams, we don't. We did. That's huge. Tylor Megill shuts down the Nationals, shuts down the Phillies, and you couldn't ask for anything else. I mean, this guy, I saw something in Tylor Megill last year, the beginning of last year as well. When he first came on the scene, there was something about Tylor Megill that I'm like, man, I like this guy. But I didn't want to say anything because he was still raw. But remember when Jacob deGrom came up? Now, he won Rookie of the Year, but nobody knew what Jacob deGrom was going to be like. Right? Jake is different. I'm not saying Tylor Megill is going to be Jacob deGrom. But let's understand something. He's literally learning from some of the best pitchers in baseball. Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, and Jacob deGrom. And that is huge. That is huge. Learning from these guys. I can't stress it enough. And you saw it. And not only that, let's give another round of applause for the pitching coach, Jeremy Hefner. Former Met Jeremy Hefner deserves a round of applause because, the Mets kept him. He's the only person they kept from the coaching staff last year. And he is showing why the Mets protected him, kept him, and said, we need you because we see something in you that nobody else sees. And I am so happy, so happy that he is our pitching coach, because look at what's going on. Feel me? Look at what's going on. To have everything happen this week and 2 bad 8th innings and almost another blown game yesterday afternoon, but thank God it didn't happen. To have that be the only issue, and that can be huge, right? Because that could lose you multiple games. But to have that be the only issue, that is amazing. To have that be the only issue, I mean, that's huge. That's huge. That is super huge, man. And not only Megill, I mean Bassett struck out 8. And the Chris Bassett game for me was so important because he started off with a couple walks and we were like, okay, is this going to be, is this nerves? Is this going to be something else? Nah. He went out there, faced Juan Soto for the first time, struck him out. Confidence is what I see from this Mets rotation. Confidence from Max. Confidence from McGill. Confidence from Bassett. And not only them, what about my guy? Right? Because we all were worried. At the end of the second. Now, we were all worried. We were all worried about Taijuan Walker. And the second half of last year was bad. I mean, he gave up about 20-something home runs, and most of it was in the second half. But what he showed in his 2 innings, for me, was huge. Because it showed that it wasn't an admiration. He was just going through some issues, going through some injury problems. You know, he hadn't pitched a lot because he had Tommy John surgery. And in the COVID season, he played for the Blue Jays, played for Arizona, I believe, or was it Seattle? I'm not sure. But he played half a season for them and then played for the Blue Jays. Did good with the Blue Jays, but this was coming off Tommy John surgery. The pandemic season was coming off Tommy John. And last year was his first full year after that. And he showed good stuff, made the All-Star team, deserved it, every bit of it. But when he coming into this game, he showed like, nah, I'm legit. I'm for real. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna remind you I'm an all-star. And he started doing that. And I was shocked. I was surprised. I'm like, ooh, this is the Taijuan Walker. We know he getting strikeouts. Got that little hop step coming off the mound. I mean, you love to see things like that because when those things happen, you start to feel like, ooh, it's rubbing off. The Max Scherzer intensity competitiveness is rubbing off, right? The Chris Bassett competitive intensity is rubbing off, right? You see it in Tyler McGill, how he's stepped up. He didn't just change his mechanics. He got confidence. First opening day ever. So it wasn't just his first opening day, just not the first start. I mean, the guy was just dominating. He's been dominating the last 2 games. And we get to see one of his... No, like, the Phillies lineup is a good lineup. And that is a test. The Mets shut them down. He showed something. If against San Francisco he does the same thing, I'm all in on Tyler McGill. Not just being an all-star, having a Cy Young season. If it continues like that. But then again, first half, second half is getting through the second half. That's important. But, I mean, look at guys like, in Milwaukee, right? Corbin Burns isn't the only person that's dominant in that lineup, right? They got Woodruff, who's dominant. Woodruff been in the game, right? And he's showing that he's dominant, putting up good numbers, right? So, I mean, Tyler McGill, if he is legit and he's showing that some things have changed and he's ready to be a major league pitcher, that is huge. Going forward, that is huge. You feel me? Because, with Matt Allen going down, that expectation doesn't have to be thrown on him like a Matt Harvey. You feel me? That he can take his time to get better and come back. So I love Tyler McGill going off. And we're going to get to the next guy, man. Another round of applause for Carlos Carrasco. Huge round of applause for Carrasco. He deserves every bit of the applause because he had issues getting out of the first inning. And we thought, here we go again. It's here. Gave up a home run in the first inning. But then that kind of changed, right? That definitely changed. And you saw the changes in that. Like, you saw how he just was going in a row. The double digits, mowing them down in a row. Huge game out of Carrasco, 5 strikeouts. I think he, put away his last 13 in a row before giving it to the pen. Huge game, man. Huge game for Carrasco. And it was just a slim 2-run lead. And then it was a 1-run lead going into the 8th. So it wasn't even a 2-run lead. It was a 1-run lead, 2-1, going into the 8th. And then Washington took over. But huge game out of Cookie Carrasco, man. We got to give him props because, when we traded for him in Lindor, this is the reason why. Because he was a legit number 3 or 2 guy who can really pitch. All-star, can really do his thing, World Series in 2016. So, guy who has experience, and he showed that experience. We have a very, very experienced lineup and rotation, and you saw a lot of that. You saw. So huge round of applause to him. And, Max Scherzer, even at 90%, with a bad hamstring, Max Scherzer is better than almost the entire league, maybe except DeGrom. That's how good Scherzer is, even with a bad hamstring. And he showed that. Hasn't had his best stuff, confidence in his fastball, but he's using other pitches to try to get outs, setting up, the fastball differently, doing different things, adjusting to that. I mean, that's veteran stuff right there. Huge props to that. Guys sign big contracts and things happen and they're like, they start getting scared. They start getting worried. This guy's not scared. He's not afraid. He is not afraid. And I love it. This is a guy that's made to play in this city, in this town, who once hated him because he was the enemy. But now he's our friend. Now he is a part of us. And he's going to be, I'm telling you, he's going to be the reason we win a championship. In these next 3 seasons, he's going to be the reason we win a championship. No doubt. Game 1, struck out 5. Game 2, he struck out 6. Game 2, right? He walked 1 in that game, gave up 3. In this one, he gave up 1, walked, I believe it was 3 again. Gave up 5 hits. But he did his thing. I mean, he he did his thing. And you got to give him props for that, in trouble, getting out of the first inning with trouble. And then getting out of the inning, runners on second and third, getting out of that. I mean, huge. He even gave up that run, and the Phillies could have added on more, and he got out of it. So give him props for that. Huge props for Max. And the next thing I want to talk about right quick is kind of like a little trend I'm starting to see as far as the starting pitchers are concerned. Juan Soto had one big hit. I'm not sure if he had a hit that Sunday game, but he had one game, game one, hit a home run off Trevor May, and the entire series he was shut down. Shut down. In the Phillies series, Schwarber goes 0 for 12. Harper, few hits here, and he hit his home run yesterday, but Harper shut down. That magic word that I was talking about. The Mets are using it. I'm speaking it into existence, and I will continue speaking it to existence. And those magic words are limit the damage. Why do I say limit the damage? Because, like I mentioned in the last show, Clyde Frazier said, if a guy is averaging a certain numbers, if he hits those numbers, he's doing what he's supposed. That's fine. That doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job, because those are the numbers he hits. So if he's averaging 25 and he gets 25, I mean, you get my point? Like, that's exactly what he's going to do. And you can allow that. You can allow that. That's what limiting the damage is. He's going to have damage, but you got to limit that. That's what limiting the damage is, right? Basically, damage is going to happen.
Hey, much.
Which one?
Not that. It's much. It's much.
And that's what limiting the damage is. That's what limiting the damage is. If a guy averages a certain amount of points, so that's what limiting the damage is. The 20, the 20, if the guy averages 25, he gets 25, good. He did damage, but you limited his damage to exactly what he does, right? You got to let the other guys around him beat you. He could get 25, that's fine. That's what he does. That's what he's averaging. Right? But if he averages 25 and he drops 50 on you, that's where you're not limiting the damage and you're absolutely getting owned. Perfect example. Vlad Jr. First two games of the season, first two games against the Yankees, didn't do well, right? I think he went like 0 for 8 or something like that. Then he faces Garrett Cole yesterday. What did he do? The Yankees didn't limit the damage. If the Yankees limited the damage against Vlad Jr. yesterday, the Yankees would have gave up 1 run. See the difference? You take out Vlad Jr.'s performance, and the Yankees only give up 1 run. No, maybe not even 1 run. 1 hit, probably. Because that's what Garrett Cole did. He gave up only 1 hit to the rest of the Blue Jays. To Vlad, he gave up 3. 2 home runs and a double. So, Garrett Cole didn't limit the damage. Max Scherzer, on the other hand, he limited the damage. He got Bryce Harper out. He got Schwarber out. But guess what he did? He kept Nicholas Castellanos in the yard. Hit a couple doubles against him. That's it. No damage. Feel me? That's exactly how you play the game. In the first game of the series, I said the Mets need to limit the damage and let Segura, Gregorius, and first baseman Rhys Hoskins win the game for the Phillies. Who won the game for the Phillies in game 1? Rhys Hoskins, Didi Gregorius, Gene Segura. And Nicholas Castellanos hit a huge double, right? That is the difference. See? So, and that wasn't even McGill giving that up. That was the bullpen who gave that up in the 8th. Now we got to clean that up. Sure. But in game 2, what happened? Right? You limit the damage. Right? David Peterson, huge props. Limit the damage. Nimmo takes Wheeler deep. And then the Mets add on another run off Lindor's single, to bring in Marte. That's how you win games. You feel me? Now, I understand the offense should be better. Offense should kick up. But it's not bad. It's a seesaw, right, guys? Be off at one point, on at one point, off at one point, on at one point. But it happens, right? But you win the game. That's the point. Game number 3, same thing. Limited the damage, right? The only damage was hitting a guy, walking a guy, and then them getting a base hit. Fine. Right? But what would you rather? You would rather that, or would you rather have Schwarber hit a home run every 3 at-bats? Or every 2 at-bat, or every at-bat, basically. Nicholas Castellanos hitting 3-run home runs. And Bryce Harper getting walk-offs. That literally could have happened because that's how dangerous they are. But that didn't happen. We limited the damage. We shut those guys down. The only guy that really had any type of success was Castellanos. Hit multiple doubles against the Mets throughout the series. I think he had like 4 or 5 doubles off the Mets that whole series. Props to him. But we kept them in the ball yard. And that's what matters. That's how you limit the damage against him. You keep him in the yard. Right? Same thing with Bryce. Same thing with Schwarber. Keep them in the yard. You got to let guys like Didi beat you. Guys like Stott beat you. Guys like, Hoskins beat you. Right? The other guy that can beat us, and I don't mean to leave him out on purpose. Catcher JT Realmuto is also another guy who beats us, right? He's the guy who beat us. Is one of the guys. He's included in that, right? In that, quartet of Philly guys who can dominate, right? Realmuto hit that home run, and that was game 1, right? But what did he do in game 2? What did he do in game 3? Exactly my point, right? So these are the things that we have to control. These are the things that we have to make sure that we do is limit the damage. That's huge. That's key. Limit the damage. It's so important in this. Limit the damage. Why? Because you win games. Right? So in this game, or in this series against The Diamondbacks. All right. Seth Beer, Marte, Carson Kelly. Limit the damage. I believe we can do it, right? D-backs don't really have an identity. They have some of their best pitchers going, but the D-backs, exactly like the Nationals, you got to win those games. If we're gonna make the playoffs, you got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, right? So that means you got to get up for these games. You got to get up for these games. You got to play the Diamondbacks because you got them 2 series, right? 2 out of the next 3 series, you got the Diamondbacks. You got to beat them. You got to beat them. Right? We beat them at home last year. But last year, remember, that was a Lindor and Raccoon situation. This year, we got them a little bit earlier. We're hot. We're on point. And that's key. Offensively, Pete Alonso, absolute beast. I don't care if he stays at first, stays at DH. As long as he's hitting, I don't give a damn. The guy can play on the moon as long as he's hitting. Lindor has gotten either driven in a run or had an extra base hit in multiple games for these 2 series. Multiple games he's had extra base hits or base hit or an RBI. Doing more than what he did last year. He didn't get his third extra base hit, I think, till May. That's how bad it was for Lindor last year to start off the season. This year, it's a better start, right? He understands, yes, he has to do his job, but it's not all on his shoulders. He just has to make sure when it's his time, he does what he needs to do, and he's done that. Driven multiple runs in that Phillies series, either to add on or, and that's important. That's important. That last game in the Washington series, hit a home run. Important. These are important things because if he's on and everybody else is on, then it's going to be a long day for whoever's on the mound. Mark Canha's another guy. First series went 7 for 10. In the Phillies series, he battled. Couple tough outs. Looking at some pitch. That was the one caveat that I'm like, ooh, cannot continue to do that. Looking at pitches down the zone, and I understand, but you cannot. I don't want you striking out like that. Not like that. Go down swinging, or let them paint. But down the middle, that happened multiple times. It happened with Pete. It happened with Dom. It happened with Cano. It happened with even Canha a couple times. And it happened with Marte too. But they adjusted and they did their work. They did what they had to do. The faith is in Buck Showalter. He is the glue to all the characters in this movie, right? He is the director in this movie. And the cast of characters we have are huge. Big time guys. Multiple all-stars on this team. I mean, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's not even almost. The starting lineup has an all-star except Brandon Nimmo. Though if he continues to play the way he's playing, he will get that. An all-star in every position. Marte was an all-star. Canha, I believe he was an all-star. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But he's had good seasons. I believe he was probably an all-star. Might be wrong. McNeil was an all-star. Lindor, multiple-time all-star. Escobar was an all-star. Alonso was an all-star. McCann was an all-star. On the rotation, multiple all-stars. That is what we need. That's the formula to win. I believe this is going to be an electric season for the New York Mets. Tomorrow is the Tom Seaver statue, which is huge. you're starting to see a little bit something different with the Mets. Something that the fans have been craving. Us as fans have been craving, you know, and which is something that the Yankees do very, very well. The Yankees do a very good job at honoring their history, and you know, that is something that the Mets are starting to do. They're starting to honor their history, honor the former players that they had. Uh, whether it was the last 20 years, last 15 years, last 10 years, they're starting to honor the heritage and the history of the New York Mets, retiring numbers and doing right by guys. Um, in the next few numbers I would like to see retired. I would love to see David Wright get his number retired. I believe that will happen. I would love to see, you know, Jose Reyes is one of my favorite players. I don't know. It's just like it's like a teeter totter if he's very iffy with Reyes, right? Because of, you know, the domestic stuff. Um Daryl Strobe, Doc and Daryl gotta be honored in some form or fashion. I don't care about the drugs and the cocaine and the whatever, man. Listen, bro, Dennis Rodman, who done more coke than Dennis Rodman? And Dennis Rodman is one of the greatest defensive players in the NBA ever. Rebounders, woo, top notch. That's Dennis Rodman, and they honor him. I think Doc and Daryl need to get their honor. They need to get their numbers. Either their numbers, you know, they need to have something. Have a Doc and Daryl day or have something to honor these guys because without them, Mets don't win a championship in 86. Say what you want. I understand Daryl had a tough World Series, but, you know, Doc and Daryl got to get their love. You know, however way they can, hopefully they can get it. They need their love. Um, you know, and from there, I mean, Johan is coming back. They're gonna do a nice little thing for Johan to kind of celebrate the 10 years of the no-hitter. Um, that happened in 2012. They're gonna do it on May 31st. That's awesome. That's dope. And then they're also gonna be there for the Old Timers Day, which is awesome. I just love that the Mets are celebrating their history. You know, understand they haven't won many championships, but they have a nice, rich history. You know, a lot of good players have come through this team, even without them winning a championship. So I love that. I love that for them. I love that for us. And I love that for the organization because we're not abandoning the history anymore. We're not just searching for the next kind of win or championship and then whatever. Like, no, we're honoring the people that need to be honored. Tom Seaver's finally getting his due, getting the statue that's long overdue. Right? And Saturday, they're having like a statue, replica statues they're going to give to the fans. I'll be there on Saturday. So if you guys happen to see me or whatever, you know, say hi. And again, right? Win. Limit the damage and find a way to win. That's it. That's all we ask for this team is to find a way to win. The bullpen. Final thing. I know everybody's talking about, oh, you know, bullpen mismanagement. I don't understand how we're surprised at the kind of moves that Buck is doing. He clearly said multiple times, we want to see what we have. Yes, he has seen film of these guys, but mind you, they had a spring training. Though it was short, they had a spring training. And in that spring training, he got to see something from some guys. And he wants to see what they can do in specific situations. Drew Smith is a perfect example. They left him out there for a second inning, and he went out there and proved them right. right? Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. Ottavino was great his first game, didn't do good, but he hadn't pitched in a while. So yeah, you can't have guys inactive for so long, but you want to take advantage of what we have from now through May 2nd, right? Once they cut the rosters down to 26 rather than 28, then we're going to start seeing a little bit more consistency with the bullpen. But it's fair to see what you have now. I mean, it's completely fair to see what we have now in that bullpen. Because how are you going to expect them to make a trade without knowing who's the odd man out? You can't just have one or two games or two performances that are horrible. Now, I understand you cannot continue to get games being cost, losing games because of guys. I don't think Buck is going to let that happen. But to shout at the top of your lungs, bullpen mismanagement, you cannot be making these mistakes. You gotta, chill. Let them assess the situation. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we have in this bullpen. And then, once they make that determination, listen, a move will be made. They'll make a move. If that's the only thing that's missing, I'll take it. I'd rather have that. So I'm more worried about the offense, how the offense looks. I'm more worried about the rotation, how the rotation looks. Because if those things are solid, bullpen can be adjusted at any time. Listen, guys come in and out all types of times, right? So I'm not worried about the bullpen in that sense. We got a surefire closer. And people got to start looking at him as such. Because he's one of the last of the dying breed of surefire closers. Right? Because nowadays, everything is just a mixed bag of peanuts. Edwin Diaz is a surefire closer. He is a closer. That is his role. That is his job. And he proved it. Right? When he shut it down, game 2 against the Phillies. So, let's calm down with all the, bullpen mismanagement stuff. I already know everybody want to pull the trigger on that because of what happened with Zach Britton, in 24. Listen, forget about that. That's done. Buck has learned that lesson. Trust me, man. Listen, this guy's a veteran. He's been in the game for a long time. If you think he's in this to make that mistake again, bro, ain't no way. Ain't no way. My confidence is 1,000% in Buck Showalter, 1,000% in Billy Epler, and they're once the trade deadline comes, I believe we're gonna be in a good position. To make some real quality moves to set this team in the right direction come playoff time. And we're going to do what we need to do to win. And I believe that's what the mission is, to do everything we need to do to win. Max Scherzer, at the end of his career, chose to come to the Mets because he saw opportunity to win. That's everything you need to know about the direction we're headed in. So forget about the drama, forget about whatever. I understand it's Mets Twitter. We're gonna panic whenever things go wrong. Trust me, my heart rate goes up too. It's baseball. It's why I love it. It's the art. But at the end of the day, the Mets are 5-2. One of the best teams in Major League Baseball right now. They should be at the top of anybody's rankings just because the way that starting rotation performed. Chef kisses. Absolutely phenomenal. One final round of applause for that Mets rotation. And we're going to leave you guys with that, man, because you already know. When we talk about the Mets, it's always for life, baby. Don't forget, catch me on all the socials. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Everything Mets Life. Look it up. I'm telling you guys, it's there. Follow. Join me on this mission for this season. Listen, let's grow this community. Let's grow together. Let's be together. Let's be one. You already know the vibes, man. I'm going to holler at y'all at the next stream. That'll be on Monday. And I'll be on the game on Saturday. Tomorrow's opening day, so I'll be live tweeting that. Look out for my Good Morning Mets, and the Mets Minute Recap comes back on Monday. So look out for that on all the socials. Remember, just follow me on all the socials. We gonna turn it up this year. 2022, man, Mets is winning the championship. I don't care what nobody says. All right? Holla at your boy.